Good morning, colleagues. This is Veronica Lipucci di Paola, and today we are hosting the second Q&A clinics on the functionalities of PMS, both on product user interface and on the application programming interface, the API. Today, as usual, we are with our network product owner, Dinos Mumpasis, and also Marcos Fernandez, the product owner in PMS, as me. If I can have the next slides, just a little remarks. We have welcomed your suggestion to host the Q&A clinics and to extend the duration to 1 hour instead of 45 minutes. So we will be accommodating your request for the next and the last two Q&A clinics. This meeting today will still last for 45 minutes because we couldn't update on time the extension, but the next two meetings will be lasting 1 hour. So, few housekeeping notes. As usual, for those who are familiar, you can disregard, but for the new colleagues who never used the Slido tool and are not familiar with the way we handle meetings, please be aware that this session is always recorded, and the recording will be made available on the EMA YouTube channel, the official EMA channel, and also on the EMA webpage. For the participants who want to interact with us and want to ask questions, you can give your input via using the Slido tool. You can interact on a voluntary basis. You can opt to remain anonymous as usual. But if you decide to use Slido, please be aware that we will process your personal data as explained indeed in the data privacy statement for Slido. So these are the main key points. To access the Slido, there will be a QR code, which I'll show you in a moment. Just a few remarks. If I can have the next slide, thank you. So we would like to share the upcoming next events. So as I said before, the last two Q&A clinics will last 1 hour. So please disregard the duration that we have entered here. We will update it. Will be also the third one on the 18th of February. And also on the last one on the 25th of February. So the whole month is dedicated to the Q&A clinics to give you the chance to request any question or clarification you may have. Then another important project that we have is to host a webinar, not actually a project, it's a webinar. We want to support and give practical tips to the small and medium enterprises. This was also another request that came from the SME trade organization, so we're more than happy to accommodate, and we're happy to announce that on the 24th of February, we're going to host 2 hours of webinar from 2 to 4, and you can register at the link that will be made available soon. Again, public system demo, this is a reminder for who is following or interested to follow on the live on the progresses we made in PMS. Is an occasion to interact not only with the PMS PO, but also with the product owner for different EMA projects like ESMP, AEF, and IRIS if you want. And then in the April, July, and October, for 3 dates, we plan to host the SPOR and Active MPD status update webinars, as usual every year. Last but not least, the so-awaited PMS Info Day that will be hosted on the 21st of May. Again, this year will be a full day event where it will be broadcasted and you can register already. There is already a draft agenda available in the event page. Having said that, please save your dates if you're interested. And now we can start using Slido. So this is the QRT. You can use your mobile phone if you want. Otherwise, you can just go to slido.com and enter the hashtag PMSQA1302, which is the today's date, and you can upvote your questions, and we will do our best to reply to the most voted question Please make sure you don't submit duplicates. We would kindly ask you to make an effort, because Marcus and I are the only one also with Dino to reply. So sometimes it's very hard for us to manage 200 questions. If they are duplicates, we cannot identify them, and we want to give the chance to everybody to hear the answer. We will show the questions, of course, and we have for that Vivian, our moderator. We can now start, and I'll give the floor.
Thank you very much, Monica. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So I already have a few questions here, so I will just pinpoint exactly the first one. Okay, so for NAPS, product data from some countries is not fully loaded in PMS PUI from XEV-MPD. When can we expect to have complete data for all countries in PMS PUI?
I can take this. It's already replied, but the thing is, we have migrated all the products that we have in XEV-MPD, but for some products, we have some issues at the level of the PMS API. All these issues are listed in the PMS Q&A document that you can find in the PLM portal. In fact, I think today or tomorrow we will update the document. But we might have some issues with the mappings between XEV-MPD and OMS, and therefore, if we don't have an MA holder in the product in PMS, you will not have access to this product because it doesn't have a holder allocated. There is also another issue with some authorize those forms. So if we don't have the mapping for this authorize those form, then the product is also not visible in PMS. So my suggestion is please go to the Q&A document, review these issues, and check if one of those issues is applying to your product. That might be the reason why you are not able to see the products in PMS. If you think none of these issues are applying to your products, then you can just open a ticket to in ServiceNow. Give us some of the EV codes that you would expect to see, so we can check what's the issue with these products. But in principle, all the products in XEV-MPD have been loaded in PMS.
Okay, perfect. So let's just archive that one, and let's just move on to the next one. Perfect. Okay, so we are unable to see any product data in the PMS dynamic report. Is there an ongoing issues with this, and when can we expect it to be resolved?
Yeah, so actually I was reviewing today a couple of service desk tickets, and we have received today already a couple of them saying that they are not able to see data on the dynamic reports. With my role of EMA data steward, I'm able to see the data, but as we have received a couple of tickets, we will investigate what is going on. And if there is an issue, we will display a banner and we will investigate what is happening. So it seems something is happening because we have already received a couple of tickets like this. So we will investigate what is the issue. For the moment, I mean, it's 15 minutes ago, we received the tickets and we are investigating, so we don't have really a lot of information on this point. I'm sorry for that.
Let's archive. Okay, go on to the next one. Okay, so when will the updated list of XEV-MPD products according to ULCM version 2 will be available?
I can take it, or Marcus, if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Go.
So the list of XEV-MPD/PMS IDs that was published on the different EMA website, including the PLM portal, is referring, as you know, to the first version of the ULCM list. Now, because the ULCM list will be updated over the years, we have decided to change the strategy, because there are other solutions to keep MAHs updated in understanding which product can be impacted by the ULCM list. Now, the version 2 has been released in December. We have discussed last week the possibility to release a new version, but we have agreed to do different strategies. So the strategy will be, and we will be communicating, actually there are a few requests pending for the publication teams to be fulfilled. We will be updating the ULCM page on the EMA website, the PLM portal is already updated with indications, and the PMS official webpage on the EMA website. The instructions will be different. The XCVMPD/PMS list, still referring to version 1 of the ULCM list, will be watermarked. So for those colleagues who saved the link in their browsers, they will still access this list, but it's outdated already because you have ULCM version 2. The strategy is that if you want to see which product is impacted by version 2, you can access the dynamic reports upon your registration. You have access to the dynamic reports, and there are a bunch of reports called all ATC codes. If you click in the all ATC codes report, you will be directed to 2 reports. One is medicinal products and the other one is packaged products. Click on packaged products and you will be seen by looking, because it's dynamic, you can search their ATC codes. You will be seeing by filtering per ATC code of interest the products that are affected by your portfolio. And we are about to update it by the next week. This will be all synchronized across the official EMA web pages. But you can already access this information in PLM portal under the PMS section, guidance, section 4, ULCM list. Sorry, it was a bit long, but it was needed.
Perfect. Thank you, Veronica. Okay, so moving on to the next one.
Just one point there.
Sorry.
I don't remember the date. I think it's 24th of February. We will have a webinar mainly focused on small and medium enterprises, how they can review data, etc. I will explain there the process that Veronica has described. So you are more than welcome to join. There is already the web page for the registration to the webinar. So I will be explaining this process there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct, Marcus. Veronica mentioned it before in our upcoming events, so that's going to be on the 24th. You're correct. Perfect. Okay, so next question is, several records do not have the packaging description updated in PMS, although the data in EV Web are correct. Is there any known issues about that?
So here it depends on when you submitted the update to XCVMPD. You need to take into account that it might take a couple of hours or maybe even a day to the data that you have submitted to XCVMPD is reflected in the UI. But if you have waited more than that, then you need to open a ticket. We know there is an issue because with the deltas from XCVMPD, we have something that is called the postpone mechanism. What it's doing is collecting some products from XCVMPD and wait to process the delta. So this might take a bit longer. It's a bit technical, so if you have seen that the update is not coming, you can raise a ticket with the AV codes and we can check if they are in this postpone queue, and we will fix the issue.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to the next one. When is it possible for bulk update to XCVMPD submissions to correct the data in PMS?
Okay, so here, I guess you are talking about the bulk update on XCVMPD. This is available since 2016 or like a long time ago. So the bulk update functionality in XCVMPD is already there. You can search in internet for the bulk update user manual of XCVMPD, and there you will find a user manual with all the steps on how to do bulk updates on XCVMPD. So this is already available. The other one is the bulk update on the product UI. This one, we are working on it, we are implementing it, we will have a UAT with our SMEs, and hopefully we will be able to put it in production in Q2. But these are two different bulk updates. One is for XCVMPD data, and the other one is for the manufacturers, etc. That has to be done in the UI.
Okay, next question. So how could we track the changes if the loss of date is not in the report? Is there a possibility to add the loss of date in the dynamic report?
So that is a good point. We don't have the last update date on the reports. You can see it on the product UI when you click on a product and you go into the details. On the top below the name of the product, you can see the version and the last update date. But it is true that we don't have it in the dynamic reports. Something that we have prioritized, or we are trying to prioritize for this year, is to improve the dynamic reports that we have in the product UI, and maybe that would be a good thing to add in the reports. For the moment, we don't have it, so whenever we improve them, we will try to include this information. Also, one of the things that we want to include is the versioning on the product UI and in the PMS API. That will allow you to compare different versions of the same product. This is not implemented yet, but it's something that we also want to implement, so you can compare different versions. We are working on that.
Okay, perfect. So moving on. Okay, PUI, addition of man operation. So the Medicine Regulatory Agency organization is a mandatory field to fill in, but this information is often not available in the EMA documentation, especially for API and API intermediate site qualified by QPD.
So, according to Chapter 2, when a marketing authorization, an operation for a for a manufacturer is authorized, is always authorized by a competent authority or the relevant supervisory authority. So it should be reported. But I don't know if Dino, you want to intervene in this type of questions. Otherwise, we will come back to you later.
I guess to this specific question, we need to come back. This is not related to that the organization is not available for in the list of medicines regulators agencies, but whom to state here if the information is not available. Yeah. To my first thought, it should be the authorizing the agency that authorizes the product there as a placeholder for the marketing authorization as a whole. But I think we need to clarify a bit more here.
I have already copied the question to be sent to the SMEs, so we can agree on something.
Super proactive. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so next question. So we have now successfully submitted our data to the ex-EVMPD with status valid pending national phase, and our products can already be found in the PMS. However, they have status surrendered on the PMS. Is there a mapping sync error?
Yes, so the mapping is correct between ex-EVMPD and RMS. So we have in RMS this authorization status pending national phase, but it seems that there was a bug and this mapping was done to surrendered in PMS. So we are correcting this in the next couple of weeks. This will be solved and the correct authorization status will be displayed.
Okay, so next question. So in Chapter 3, page 13 for MBO enrichment, the same information as provided by EIF should be provided to PMS is requested. Could you please clarify the adjustment from Chapter 2 spec? Is it limiting the operation type or the MBO ref required?
So let me clarify. The PMS data model, the section 2, the manufacturer data sets, has been developed to be in line with the future web form of the EAF. So just take this as an example, but if you have the PDF of the EAF even, you will notice that most of the information are also the same in the PMS data model. So this is limited to the whole data sets in PMS Chapter 2. We always recommend to report the manufacturer and its related operation or operations, because it depends by the situation, as requested in the EAF, because in this case, if you have a variation and in future the EAF team will consider to expand the interoperability between PMS and EAF, this information will be already been visible in the web form in the EAF. There are no timelines, but this is the there is an appetite behind. So that's why we said please keep them aligned with the EAF. In addition to the usual regulatory procedure that we need to follow. So this facilitates your work. I don't know, Marcus, if you want to join to complement it.
Yeah, maybe lost with this question because I don't understand the difference between operation type and the MBO. At the end is the same. So the operation type is the manufacturing business operation that we need. And you need to submit the same data that you have submitted within the EAF. So if there are MBOs or operation types that you have in your dossier but have not been submitted to the EAF or through the EAF, then you don't need to provide this information to PMS. I hope that is clear. Also, in the webinar on the 24th, I will be giving a couple of examples. Like, okay, this you might have in the dossier, but it's not part of the EAF, so you don't need to submit this information. But as a general rule, then yeah, this is the rule that you need to follow.
Okay, next question. So where are the PMS IDs? Those are transferred from one MAH to other are archived. Okay, in PMS, we are unable to retrieve them via PMS ID as they're transferred. In ex-EV-MPD invalidated products due to MAT, we can retrieve though it is not valid.
Well, that is correct because the transferred product now belongs to the new MA holder. So in ex-EV-MPD, what you do is you invalidate your EV code and then the new MA holder inserts a new EV code for their products, for their product. PMS doesn't work like this. What we do is we transfer the product from the former MA holder to the new one. So the MA holder changes, and that is why you will not be able to retrieve the information of that product because you are not the holder anymore. It's a different way of managing the transfers. We are not creating a new product because the product is the same. We are just changing the marketing authorization holder. So that is the reason why if you have transferred a product to a new company, this product will not be, let's say, on your owned products. Now it belongs to a different MA holder.
So next question instead about manufacturer enrichment. So especially for legacy products, EAF is not available. Therefore, should be retrieved module 3. Also, the manufacturer report in module 3 should be the same as the one reported in the EAF. Could you confirm this? I think also in previous section, right, if the focus is EAF.
No, but this is a valid question for us as well.
Okay,
so, yeah, that is correct. So you might have products that are very old and you don't have the EAF or whatever. There is no EAF, that's fine. But in the current EAF, you have different sections for the manufacturers. So you have a manufacturer for active substances, you have manufacturers for the finished products, you have the CROs in case you have this. And inside these sections, for example, for the manufacturers of the active substance, you need to report, I have not opened one, otherwise I would share it with you, but you have different manufacturing activities. So you have active substance manufacturer, you have the biological tester of the active substance, so you have all these business operations. So what you need to do is you need to go to module 3 of your product and say, okay, I need to report to PMS all these manufacturing business operations that I would put in the EAF if I had to submit a new marketing authorization application. So these are the manufacturers and the MBOs that you need to provide to a PMS. So you might not have an EAF, that's okay, but imagine if you were going to submit a new marketing authorization application for this product, which manufacturers you would need to submit within the EAF. Those are the same that you need to provide to PMS. I hope that is clear. In the meantime, I will try to open an EAF and I can show you, but we can go to the next question maybe.
Okay, perfect. So sometimes when the product is searched by a normal search, we will not be able to find it in single click. When tried again with the same search criteria, we will be able to see it. Is it an issue existing, and when will it be fixed?
So that is not an issue that we know, but we can report it to the product UI team. We might need to have the steps that you are doing, because if you don't click on search, if you already have applied some filters and you just change one of the criterias, it doesn't work. You need to reset the filters. So we might need to know which are the steps that you are following so we can replicate and see if this is an issue, or if it's that maybe you are not correctly, clicking the buttons that that should be clicked. So yeah, we might need a bit more information.
In the meantime, I already shared this to be checked with our product team, so maybe we can produce it. Thank you.
Okay. So next question, if the medicinal product is generated duplicate in PLM portal due to differences in units of presentation concentrations, and if the EMA have validated both the EV codes with different units, then how should MAH make correct alignment?
Maybe this one is for one of the tickets that I have replied this morning. You need to take into account that in the past, the EV codes were validated in isolation. So we received one EV code, it was validated. We received a different one, it was validated. We tried to assign the EV codes for the same product to the same person, so the validation was more homogeneous. But we know that in the past, some validations were not done, in the same way. From last year, we implemented a new process that EV code inserts of EV codes that belong to the same medicinal product in PMS are validated by the same person at the same time. So the validation will always be the same for these records. Now, if you have this case and EMA has validated it in different ways, you can do two things. You can either update the records that were validated in the incorrect way and submit the correct data, or you can open a ticket for the exhibit PD team and explain them the situation. You can tell them, hey, I have these EV codes validated this way. I have these other EV codes validated in a different way. Please apply the same validation, and they will do it for you. So you have these two options if you want.
So next question is said, can you please give a status on the possibility of choosing alternative company names as MAH in the EAF?
Yeah, that one is for EAF, but at some point it also applies to us. For the moment, we don't have more news on this. Just for you to know, for all these OMS-related activities, we have created an internal group at EMA, and we are discussing how the changes in OMS should be consumed by the consuming system. So EAF, PMS, IRIS, all of them. We are still gathering all the requirements, etc. So for the moment, we don't have more news. I would recommend you to maybe ask EAF, but as far as I know, there is no possibility to have these alternative names. But again, I don't want to reply on behalf of Christina. I would recommend you to ask them.
Okay, next question. So many records in the PMS don't contain the ATT code value and sometimes the effective date also. Is there known issues about this?
Well, I think this ATT code is the attachment code, I hope. So we have in the PMS known Q&A document, we have included this comment. please don't review the attachment sections or the document section of the product UI because it is not maintained for the moment. We don't have the documents. We are not maintaining when you send updates to XCVMPD because we need to have a discussion on how documents are going to be managed in the product UI. So don't review, please, this section because it's not updated. The data is not reliable. So that is the reason why.
Next question. So we have noticed not valid product in XCVMPD migrated as valid in PMS. Is it possible that the version migrated in PMS is the validated version and not the last version?
I have replied to this one. So in writing, sorry. So no, we have migrated the latest version of XCVMPD, even if it was not validated. So if the latest version has an authorization status that is not valid, then in PMS we should have this version. If you can send us the EV codes, then we can have a look to see what has happened, and we can try to update the EV code.
The next question. We have noticed changes in PMS ID, and some old PMS IDs are not nullified and still valid and linked valid products. How we can manage that in our internal system?
In Chapter 9, it is explained that changes in XCVMPD to the grouping elements might create duplicate PMS ID or changes in the PMS ID. So if you change the name, for example, of the product or the active substance or the strength for some EV codes, but not for others, then what you are doing is moving this EV codes to a different product, and we might create a new one if it doesn't exist. Why? Because you are changing the grouping elements. So for the system is okay, now this EV code doesn't belong to the EV code, to the PMS ID where it was before, because the name is different between these EV codes. So I create a new PMS ID. That's why you need to check if these different EV codes have the same information or different, and that's why we might have created or changed this PMS ID. Now, if you revert the change or all the EV codes have the same information, then one of those PMS IDs will be nullified. If it's not nullified, it's because it might still contain an EV code. You need to check that. So I would do a bit of investigation, okay, if these PMS IDs have different EV codes, or if one of them it doesn't have any EV code, then you need to tell us, and we will see if it's correct that it's not nullified or not.
So moving on to the next one. Okay, so some manufacturing operation types, for instance, importation and warehouse in PMS are coming from CMED. But these are not in module 3.2.s.1 or 3.2p1. Could you comment on how EMA is expecting the EMHs to submit such operation types?
I will need to check because this for sure is a cap. So the central authorized products are indeed taking information from CIAMED, and MAHs are not expected to submit anything because they cannot. Is not an edit functionality enabled for the MAH of CAPS. But I'll check and come back because it might be, I need to see what the differences that they store inside.
Yeah, we might need to check with them. Because actually I have not seen any product with this importation or warehouse. It's a bit weird. But we can check because to be honest, I haven't seen any product with these two business operations. So we can check with the CIAMED colleagues and then we can come back.
Perfect. We'll get back to that. Okay, and we still have about 10 minutes left. So let's move on to the next question. So this question is about manufacturing operation types enhancement. So is it fine with EMA if MHS submit only those operation types that can be identified based on the EIF or modules 3.2S1 or 3.2P1, and no need to check content of other module 3 documents for this.
Okay, I have now opened this. I'm gonna steal your screen. I'm gonna share mine. Can you see my screen with, I hope so.
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Yes.
So on the left side of the window, I have the RMS list of the manufacturing activities. Okay, this is a hierarchical list, so I can either select the flat view, so I have all the different activities here, or I can select the hierarchical view, and then it is collapsed based on, for example, manufacturer of the active substance, and then here I display all the different activities under the manufacturing of the active substance. On the right side of the window, I have a new marketing authorization application, EAF. And here in 2.5, we have the manufacturer of the medicinal product, the manufacturers, the batch control releaser, manufacturing of the active substance. So we have different sections. I'm gonna try to make it a bit bigger so you can see. So let's go, for example, to the manufacturer of the active substance. If I go here, in the EAF, I would need to select, okay, which active substance, which manufacturer, and here I would need to select the manufacturing business operations. If I click here, I see all these business operations. These are all the manufacturing business operations, and of course the manufacturers that are performing these business operations. These are all the ones that you need to submit to PMS. For example, in RMS, I have one activity that is extraction of active substance from natural resources, but I think I don't have this. Yeah, I have it here. So you need to submit this manufacturing and this business operation. You might have this in 3.2P1, or you might have this in a different section from your dossier. You need to look for this information and submit it. Same for active substance physical processing, or the, I don't know, preparation of the working cell bank. All these activities, if your product should be following those activities, then you need to perform the submission of this data to PMS. For example, we have in RMS one business operation that is official medicine control laboratory. I think this is not part of the EAF. Therefore, you might have this information on your dossier. We don't need it in PMS, okay? Or, for example, the importation of intermediate. If this activity is not in the EAF, we don't need it. Now, you might not have an EAF for your product. It doesn't matter. You can here and you say, okay, for my active substance, I need to submit the manufacturers that are doing any of those business operations. And you link the business operation. Why are we requesting this information? First of all, to support ESMP, because they need the manufacturers and the business operations. But second, because the idea in the future is that you can go to the web-based EAF and you will be consuming the data from PMS. So all this data will already be there. So if you need to submit a variation for the active substance manufacturer that is doing the secondary packaging, you will have this information in PMS. This information will be in EAF, and you will be able to submit a variation for this specific manufacturing business operation. And that's why we don't need the data for any other business operation that is not in EAF. I hope with this explanation I have explained a bit the questions that we have for the submission of the business operations. And then if the data is not in 3.2P1, is in 3.2S or whatever, use this document to gather the information and submit it to PMS.
Perfect. I'll go back to the questions. Okay, so I have about 4 minutes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so next question. So why for some medicinal products, I'm unable to see in PMS the indication and ingredients submitted in XCV-MPD?
It depends when you check them. So as you might know, we have removed all the ingredients, the indications, the ATC codes for all the products, and we were loading this data again to fix some issues that we had. This activity finished last week, so in theory, for all your products, you should have all this data. If you are missing data, then let us know, but I would suggest you to go now and check if, because if you checked last week, then that was the reason. But in theory now, all the products have the ingredients, indications, ATC codes, pharmaceutical products, etc. So I would ask you to please go and check again. And if something is missing, then report it in service desk.
Next question. So how is EMA verifying the manufacturing operation types enrichment data submitted by MHS?
We are not. So what we have already explained is that we are not verifying for the moment the data that is submitted to support ESMP. Nevertheless, I have already explained that this data in the medium term, it will be used also in the EAFs. So that data might be verified by the national competence authorities when they receive a variation, etc. We also need to discuss if in the future we will put any type of verification in place, either from the NCAs or by EMA. But for the moment, we need this data to support ESMP. And we have discussed this with the NCAs. For the moment, it's not going to be verified. NCAs, though, they have the possibility to review the data because they have access to this data in PMS. And if they spot any mistake or anything that is not correct, they are allowed to either contact the ME holder or contact us, and we will discuss with the holder what is the issue.
So next question. So when EAF users attending EMA EAF training for non-cap search for their products, they are unable to retrieve them, and we raised no since the 11th of November 24th, which remains unresolved today, refraining us from enrichment required by the EMA by December 25.
So again, this might be an issue with this problem that we have from OMS, that the products might be allocated to a different not to a different organization, sorry, that the location ID is not mapped to XCV-MPD. There is also an issue with the merges and the acquisitions, and right now there are a couple of MA holders that don't have access to their products. This is a known issue, and we are working with IRIS and with other POs to check if we can implement a workaround, or if those MA holders will not have access to these products and for how long. So we are discussing internally. Obviously, these MA holders might have like an extension of the deadline or something. We need to discuss. But unfortunately, if your organization has undergone any merge or acquisition in PMS, or sorry, in OMS, that might be the issue, that you don't have access to the products, and we need to investigate.
Okay, perfect. So I think as we finished the time, unfortunately, but we'll of course address the remaining questions. I just wanted to remind you, as we've launched also exactly the survey, to please fill it in. Okay, perfect. So I see, yes, most of you are already answering. So thank you very much. Remember to answer, because it's always useful to have feedback, of course. Okay. And thank you very much for attending. I'll leave also the word to Veronica and Marcos to close. But thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining. I was trying to reply to all the left questions, so Marcos and I will do the best to address them all. And I think, Vivian, we will be publishing the answers, right? Like we did for the last time.
Exactly, as usual, and recording as well. So we'll have all.
Fantastic. So the next meeting, Q&A, PMS, PUI, and API, will be on the 18th of February, so less than a week. We hope to see you there or in other occasions. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye, colleagues.